here again. This is Family Matters. Family Matters is brought to us by Better Dwellers, the organizers of Understanding the Scriptures, UTS, and also Festival of Worship, FOW. My name is T. Elizabeth Olumagin, shortcut for Lizzie. Lizzie is there again, and with me is my co-host.
You're welcome again to this amazing episode where we have had amazing moments. At the last episode, we commenced our conversation with Reverend and Pastor Mrs. Okay. We started our conversation around courtship, one of the very important foundational blocks for a lasting godly family. They took us through a lot of perspectives to courtship, the duration, that it is not good to have long courtship. It is not encouraging. Minimum 3 months, so that you are able to make your decisions fast and you don't give room for a lot of unwanted desires and emotions. Pastor Mrs. also highlighted to us that a broken courtship is better than a broken marriage. So if you want to ensure that your marriage lasts, pay attention to what you do during courtship. She highlighted planning is one of those things you use your courtship to do. Praying is one of those things you do during courtship. Commitments are also things you check. Commitment to God, commitments to values. Values is that area where we'll be going in today with Reverend and Pastor Mrs. So Lizzie would launch us into today's episode. Lizzie, and you look amazing. I need to also say.
Thank you.
You look amazing.
Thank you for the compliment. Daddy, Mommy, you are welcome back again. We have another amazing topic. Wonderful. We are still building the block. That is the foundation.
Thank you for having us again.
Thank you
very
very
much.
All right. The topic for today, we have the family values and also conflict resolutions. How do we manage our family values and also resolve every conflict around the family? We go on a break now.
Welcome back to Family Matters. Like Lizzie mentioned earlier, today we'll be diving into family values and conflict resolution. Having started with courtship, what are those values that are important and integral to a successful and godly family? And how do you resolve conflicts, both in the core and the extended family? Welcome again, Reverend and Pastor Mrs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us once again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for the privilege.
Thank you.
Okay, so family values. Haven't intimated us last week about courtship, what we should do during courtship. I believe one of those things that you highlighted to us was that you use your courtship to identify the values of each other, whether they are aligned or they are not. So what are those values? What are the family's values that are important to a godly home?
Well,
Reverend.
Thank you very much for having us again. It's a privilege. The first value that is very important. You know, we have so many values that are needed in marriage. You know, one of the most important value is godliness. Or I call it integrity. You know, integrity, let me just use the word integrity. Integrity is very key. It's one of the greatest recipes needed, you know, in marriage. The husband must be, must be faithful to the wife. The wife must be faithful, to the husband. Having come together to be partners, to be husband and wife, integrity is very key. You have to be open to each other. You have to respect each other. Adultery is not permitted
Reverend,
in marriage.
Please, let me interject a little bit before you move away from integrity. How do I test for integrity in courtship?
Okay, let me say this. That's why we have courtship. Like I said, the minimum time you can have in courtship is 3 months, could be 6 months, or at most 1 year. You know, too long courtship is not good. You know, when, like my wife said, the period of courtship is to know the value in that person you want to marry. Let me tell you, if you stay with somebody, if you want to test the genuinity of anything, time is the true test of genuinity of anything. If you want to know whether something is fake, something is genuine, give it time. Time will tell. You know, during the period of courtship, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, you'll be able to know whether that person is a man or a woman of integrity. You know, Yoruba, they says that habit is smoke, or you know, a finiwa.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
there's no matter how somebody want to pretend, if you cohabit with somebody in consonance with the will of God, not staying in secluded places, you know, some of the things we need to mention is that during courtship, you and your would-be partner, you need to go out together. Go to eateries, sit together, talk, go to maybe church environment, visit brethren together, your family, do everything in the open. In the process of that, you will know what is in that person. You will know whether the person is a man or a woman of integrity. Even in conversation, in attitude. If, for example, if somebody is asking you for sex, you know, like one of my fathers in the Lord said that if somebody is pestering you for sex in courtship, warn the person the first time, warn the person the second time. If the person is still pestering you, break the courtship. That person is not a person of integrity.
Looking at that, we also look at honoring you. You know, it's part of value. When you honor your partner, it's part of it. If, like Daddy said, that you are pestering the woman, okay, give me sex. You are not honoring my own. Yes. I think we also need to honor one another. Mommy, how can we apply that to our courtship?
Yes. During courtship, for like what my husband said, if two of you are out on a date, assuming something happened, and then you see the reaction of the other person, from there you begin to understand and know the kind of person he or she is. For instance, maybe you people were eating in an eatery. Maybe somebody mistakenly splashed something, and then she flared up. You know, you begin to understand the kind of attitude. You understand? Or maybe the person has issue with somebody. And in courtship, the partner is there and is okay. I say, no, let me give them the peace of my mind. Let me say my mind. I like to say my mind. You see that that kind of a person is not honoring the partner. Because when you honor your partner, if your partner says it's okay,
it should be okay.
It should be okay.
Yeah.
All right.
At least for that moment. Even if you still have other things you want to point out, you want to say, or points you want to clear, but at least to show honor. Then talking about integrity, maybe during courtship, you can decide to maybe put some things together, and then you watch the way the other person reacts.
Does it mean you are trying to test the other person?
Not
Is it allowed? Can you do that?
You don't need to
Can
test.
you do like a kind of test? Let's say, I just want to see his or her reaction.
Yes, I don't want to call it a test. You understand? But I want to call it that you are more or less looking for who the person is. Really. You know, the Bible says, lead us not into temptation. So I would not want us to call it a test. But like you just want to know the person's attitude. You understand? Even those things, you may not do them. You may have the option of doing them or not doing them, but you decide to do it. You want to really see, to really know the kind of person you are going into relationship with. You understand? So maybe in conversation too. In conversation, some people, they tell you, this one, pastor said this, that one is pastor's own. And then you still feel comfortable with them because you think you are in courtship. The other time somebody was telling me about a couple, they have joint accounts where they keep money. And all of a sudden, because the husband, the wife was proposing a business idea, and the husband was not in tune with that. He doesn't want that. So because of that, he had ulterior motive, then he had to block the wife from the account, then he withdrew all the money and use it for something else.
Daddy, can we agree while in courtship on our financial times? Is it something we can do?
Well,
Or
I
is
think,
it possible to even have joint accounts?
Well,
this thing.
the way I look at it now, we are navigating between two things now, between courtship and marriage.
Yes.
Okay, let me just tie it together so that we will be focused on the point we are looking at. In fact, adultery should never, occur in marriage. In Christian marriage, is integrity. You see the husband keeping some secret account, and by the time the man, goes to be with the Lord, it's a problem. That's when you'll be talking about letters of administration, putting the family in unnecessary bondage and trouble, because the man lacked integrity before he passed on, and the family will be in disarray. They'll be running scatter, getting a lawyer, getting letters of administration and everything. But if integrity is in the home, the husband and the wife, they are open to each other. They declare their properties, what they want to do. Even before they embark on anything, they discuss it. They agree on it. That is it. That is integrity. Integrity, is very broad.
Yes.
It's very broad. It's something we can't finish here. But that is very, very key.
Okay. Thank you very much, Reverend. Still on value, and I like the way you blended the fact that we're looking at both courtship and then marriage.
Yes.
In marriage.
Yeah.
So beyond, you've highlighted a few. Integrity is one of those things.
Yes.
Then in the aspect of planning, you're looking at, well, how many children do we agree on where we want to worship or where we want to live and all of that. Is it possible that an unbeliever also decides that I want to settle with a believer? That's a believer and an unbeliever who shares similar value. Yeah, we want to live together in the same place. He has integrity. He just does not believe in my God. Can they settle?
Well, my wife is going to say something, but let me say this. The Bible tells us that we should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. What I want to say is that if you look at the Bible very well, Abraham, when Isaac wanted to get married, Abraham had to tell the servant, to lead him to his own people, his own clan, his tribe. You understand what I'm saying? You can't, what that is telling us is that as a Christian, if you want to marry, you marry from your clan, your tribe. The tribe I mean, I'm not talking about Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa. I mean, somebody of like mind.
Yeah.
Somebody who is saved. You can't marry an unbeliever. It's an aberration. It's an aberration. It will not work. I have many things to say to that, but time will not permit me. During in the.
But we might need to dwell there a little bit.
Yes, because
there are some of our audience who are not also believers, who are in courtship now.
Yeah.
And they probably have given their life to the Lord, hoping the next person will.
Well, what I will just use the word unbeliever without referring to any religion, because this is a public something. If you want to get married, marry to somebody that you are feeding on the same meal. That is the gospel. The person who is born again. Because if you marry somebody whose life is a complete departure from what your life is, ultimately there will be serious problems, and you will not be able to manage it. So for me, I want to charge, if you want to get married, marry to somebody of the same faith, the same, so that you'll be able to, to do things together. You speak the same language, you reason the same way, you feed on the same meal. So that's what I will say to that. But I know she will want to say something.
Thank you.
Briefly.
In addition to that, one thing we should bear in mind is that you cannot say, I want to marry an unbeliever if you are a believer. The fact being that being a believer, you have your father as God. Now you want to marry somebody whose father is the devil. Then you will have conflicts. Who controls the home? So if you read in the book of Ephesians chapter 5, marriage is like a triangle where you have the husband, the wife at the base, and then on top of it, you have the person who is in charge, and that is God. The Bible says that it is the Holy Spirit that convinces of sin. So let the Holy Spirit convince him or her of sin. Let him or her become born again like you, like what my husband says, so that the two of you will have the same mind, the same faith, and the same focus. It's not that when you have problem, you want to go to God. He wants to go to another list. There will be a problem.
Thank you.
You won't be able to go.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for the briefing. And we are getting to know more about family. We are getting to know more about how we can improve on our foundation and, making our family a wonderful one. Thank you for coming. And we'd like to go on a break now. We'll come back and talk about conflict resolution. Thank you very much.
You're welcome back to this amazing episode of Family Matters. We have been discussing with Reverend and Pastor Mrs. Oke. Amazing topics that borders around family value and conflict resolution. Reverend and Pastor Mrs. have highlighted to us all of the things that should form values that should be discussed and weighed and checked in the course of courtship. Some red flags may come up, red flags that borders around money, that borders around sex with the opposite sex, and reactions. Now, I want to ask you, Reverend and Pastor Mrs., in situations where we have a young couple who just got married, 3 weeks after their marriage, they come to the church, particularly the wife comes to the church, blaming the husband or accusing the husband of not being able to perform his sexual obligations in the home, and she wants out. How would you advise that issue be resolved? Is it a problem that emanated from courtship or a problem that conflict resolution could solve?
Well, let me start by saying that I think there's something wrong, fundamentally wrong with the courtship. It's like the guy deceived the lady into that marriage. Because definitely he would have known that he has that problem. And I think there are some tests also that are done before marriage, medical tests. I think it's part of the things we do now in churches so as to avoid this kind of a thing. So what should have been done earlier is that the guy should have come out. You understand? And let the would-be bride know what challenges he has with his health as touching his sexuality. Because as Christians, we don't believe in testing, going into sexual immorality before marriage. So he should have come out. They would have collectively prayed about it. Or if it is something that needs medical attention, they would have attended to it. I've seen people that you tell them, guy, what's going on? You are not getting married. And he will tell you, I still have some things I want to settle. You understand? Those things most times has to do with their health. It may not be, they are financially okay, they have everything, they are ripe, they have good job and all that. And you tell them, why you not married? Said, I have some. So some of those things may be things that has to do with their health. So I think the guy should have opened up. You understand?
In courtship.
And in courtship.
Daddy,
And now,
sorry, mommy.
okay, ma.
Can a lady ask, you are a man, that's I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Can a lady ask you as a man that, are you
Sexually
sexually okay? Is it allowed?
I think it's unethical to do that. But that's why we are talking about integrity. Integrity is very key. I think the bane of the entire world today is lack of integrity. Marriage is a place that there's no way you and your wife or you and your husband will cohabit, that there will be no problem. We have been married for almost 25 years. I've seen times that we had misunderstanding. But one thing I want to say, to resolve conflict in marriage, when you have misunderstanding with your husband or with your wife, communication is very important. You need to sit down and resolve it, even before you bring a third party. It is only when you cannot resolve it that the third party can come in. But if you want to resolve matters in the home, it should be between you and your wife. Tell your husband, I know my wife sometimes will tell me that I didn't like what you did. I don't really like it, you know. So, and the man should be humble enough to say, I'm sorry. You know, sorry, please, and all those, thank you. Those three slogans, they are very important. You know, they are maybe five.
There are five. Yes. Sorry,
please,
excuse me, please, may I,
you.
thank you.
Yes. So it's very important. But when in the home, when the husband is very arrogant, or the lady is nagging the husband is saying, babe, like the people will say today, you know, or my dear, or my darling, oh, this thing you did, I don't really like it. I think you need to, and instead of, you know, being humble and say, I'm sorry, you know, the next thing is to begin to nag. That home will crack. That home will crash. So to resolve, you know, conflict in the home, there should be humility, there should be understanding, there should be forgiveness.
And open-mindedness.
Open-mindedness. Yes. There should be no secret, nothing hidden between husband and wife. Don't do anything secretly. If you are, this one is very important, and I think I need to mention it. You know, sometimes some men, you know, one way or the other, they fall into sin of adultery, even to the extent of impregnating somebody outside the marriage. I want to say this. If your husband haven't made any mistake, come back home and say, my dear, I've done this, it's terrible, I know I've sinned against God, please forgive me. Don't say, you have done this, because at that point in time, there is nothing you can really do. It has happened, it has happened. What is needed to resolve that conflict is forgiveness.
Thank you, sir.
Forgive him, tell him, you know, pray together, cry if you want to cry, weep if you want to weep, and pray together. But instead of, I've seen some families, because of that, they sent their husbands out of, they said, never, I've seen that.
Thank you very much.
You know, they send them out of the house.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Mommy.
Thank you.
Viewers, we'd like to hear your view on resolving conflicts. You can resolve conflicts. We want to hear your view, especially about the example that was given to us, a man that cannot afford, you know, cannot take up his responsibility sexually, and not telling the woman until after marriage. Please kindly send your view to our social media platform, and we encourage you to please do that right now. Thank you for watching. I remain Elizabeth Olumagin.
Okay, thank you so very much, Reverend and Pastor Mrs. Okay.
Thank you.
It was an amazing session we've had in this episode. And I'm sure that viewers, you have enjoyed this session. Much more, you have learned a lot from the counsel that we have received from Reverend and Pastor Mrs. The conversation hasn't finished. Like Lizzie said, please get on your social media handles at Bethel Dwellers. We are on Facebook, Bethel Dwellers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. Let's get your comment on how to resolve issues. Or should you have any issue you think you would like counsels on, please connect with us on all of our social media platforms. This conversation continues in the next episode. I remain Deji Adeyemi, PDA for short. And this is Family Matters. Raising godly homes with great virtues.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
These are the list of winners from last week's home play. To all our friends at home, you also have a chance to be a part of the UTS and show us how much you understand the scriptures.